Hey there, Chibi Chop Shoppers. It's Travis and April coming to you from ChibiChopShop.com. In the process of us splitting Nendoroids over the years, we inevitably come across things that we shove in our what we call the closet of shame. That would be the various bootleg items that manage to slip through our radar when we're looking online to purchase items, and we filter them out so that they don't end up on our shop. So you'll see a wide range of things that we have that we keep for learning purposes, and we're going to show you what we have and some good telltale signs on how to identify some bootlegs.
Some of these are Nendoroid only tips, but some things can be applied to scale or price figures as well.
Indeed. So what have we got here?
Alright, so we have a little bit of everything. When you're considering buying a Nendoroid, you should keep in mind the popularity of the character. The more popular, the more likely there's a bootleg, because bootleg companies are looking to steal designs from IPs that make a lot of money and basically scam the purchaser into buying something that isn't legitimate. So we have Konosuba bootlegs, Pokemon, Overwatch, Fate, the Your Name Nendoroids, Yuri on Ice, Haruhi Suzumiya, Miku, Fate, Maduka Magica, and Loki. So Marvel, Vocaloid, anime properties, Western video games, they're all subject to having bootlegs if they're popular enough. So one thing to learn is it is helpful to know if a bootleg exists of a figure you're looking to purchase, so that you can then make sure to be extra wary for these signs.
Yep, and there are no universal rules. They have some overlap, some things that are going to be true in most cases, but in other times they won't be. But we'll show you kind of some good ways to spot them definitely, and good things to look out for so that you can get a good idea of whether something's fishy or not.
Yeah, you should be looking for multiple signs, because people who rely on just one, like hang your hat kind of sign of whether something's legit or not, can be misled, because different bootleg manufacturers make different changes, so you can't across the board use just one criteria for all of the bootlegs. Vocaloids, for example, do not have any kind of holographic stickers on their box, so you really, especially in a photo on the internet, it's a lot harder to tell from them in a box whether they're legit or not. So those are ones where you're going to really have to rely more on photos of things outside of the box, the quality of the paint job, the quality of the sculpt, and things of that nature.
Alright, well, let's take a closer look at some of this stuff and give you some good tips. Alright, so here we have it. Pretty wide range of interesting things that have slipped past our filters, but have luckily been caught in the net before they ended up on the shop site. Luckily. So what's first?
Well, first, we can talk briefly about boxes. We'll show more about this when we're unboxing at the end of the video, because we do have a full in-box Megamin to compare a legit to the bootleg. But one thing you'll notice is a lot of these bootlegs are in crushed boxes. That's not an accident. It's not like people who buy bootlegs are necessarily respecting their figures less. It's because they use a lesser quality of box. So one thing you'll notice right away is that these boxes tend to be flimsier. So if you've ever opened a legit Nendoroid, you know this feels like a lesser weight of paper. And if anyone's selling a figure they claim is brand new, and they say you have to either ask for the packaging or it comes without a box, yet they insist it's brand new, that is a classic bootleg thing. They will sell Nendoroids directly from China that are not legit, and they say that they're in
the shells often.
Yeah, they'll
no
come
box.
in just in the shell without a box. That's how the person who purchased this one got it and did not realize it was not legit, sold it to me, and I had to tell him, nope, this is not a legit Nendoroid. So we're gonna look at a couple different things out of the box now. So the earliest Nendoroids don't look much like our Nendoroids of today. and therefore can be challenging to tell if you have a bootleg or not. But this is number 16 from Haruhi Suzumiya. And one thing you can tell right away is that she's got everything the original Nendoroid came with, but the first thing I noticed when I opened her was this piece. If you can appreciate, it's an opaque piece. It's an effect piece. Now this is from the legit one. This, I have it packaged with a stand, but as you'll see you can see my hand through it. This is supposed to be a translucent effect piece. So that was a very telltale sign. Also, the Suzumiya Nendoroids do have holographic stickers on their boxes to show legitimacy, but they're usually on the back. So when you're purchasing them, if you're only got a front view of the box, that will be challenging.
Exactly. Okay. And sometimes they're just so challenging that we aren't even 100% positive, so we will pull it just to be sure, because these guys seemed a little suspicious. The parts didn't quite fit right. The plastic seemed off even for older Nendoroids.
The box is lightweight.
Yeah.
And I think, flip it over, I don't think it had, I think I realized later it does not have
as much data on the back here.
It doesn't have the holographic sticker.
Mm-hmm. So when that happens, when in doubt, we tend to shelf it until we're sure, just to save us the headache of accidentally selling something that may not be legit.
Yeah, so we typically have one or two things set back that we're waiting to get one from a source we know is legitimate, so we can do side-by-side comparisons.
Exactly, and speaking of side-by-side comparisons, here we have 425 Pokemon Red. Which one do you think's legit? Really hard to tell, at least without directly holding it. So put in the comment what your guess is before moving onward. So let's see what we got here. Mr. Black Stand, Mr. Clear Stand. And these stands, by the way, are a sneak peek of a new custom stand type that we are getting through one of our regular customers who is having these produced. And we are going to be offering them through the shop before too long, along with a variety of other styles from them, so keep an eye out for that. So, you can tell right offhand here with the seam in the hat, huge gap in the one in the black there, so that's a major component of that. But let's dig into these more and see what we get.
Okay, so let me pull off their stands so we can have them lay down next to each other. One thing that I notice is a difference in the texture of the plastic, and this may be very hard to come across on the camera, but this one has a very nice matte finish. It's very consistent. This one, not so much.
Yeah, you can also tell with the paint job
on the hat.
On the hat with the O there, it's quite a bit messier than the other one, which is a lot more crisp.
Yes.
Now those are more subtle hints, but on this particular one, you can tell by the head. Once you take them off, you can tell by the face plates.
Yes. So here, we're gonna do that. So here's the messy one. So Trav put this together. Notice it's actually falling apart.
Yeah, not a tight fit.
It's not uncommon for bootlegs when they arrive to have fallen apart. So when you get a Nendoroid in the box and it's like falling apart,
floating pieces all over,
that's not a good sign. So here you'll see a messy sculpt inside.
Yeah, a lot more flashing on the inside for the mold.
You know, it just looks warped. Now this is the legit one.
Yeah, nice tight fit. You gotta wiggle them to get them loose.
I'm having to work harder to wiggle it loose. And you'll see that on this one, I believe they used, well, maybe they didn't. I thought they might have used red plastic on the hat. Sometimes they'll use plastic rather than painting. So here you can compare.
The inside of that is a lot cleaner than this one. It's another side.
All right, so then
the smoking gun, as we have it with this one, is the face plate. Neck joints after 300, always use this style for the most part, with a couple of exceptions. Like 306, I think, still uses the old style, and a couple of other ones that slipped through. But general rule of thumb, if it's much after 300 and it has this style, it is almost certainly a bootleg.
I also feel like his eyes are more sunken in the sculpt. It may be an optical illusion due to a lesser quality paint job.
Yeah, but again, they're more glossy. The eye stickers, they reflect a lot more than the authentic one does.
Yeah.
And then you also have your discolored neck joint, which a lot of times, especially if you're buying something used, people may not, you know, match up the color quite right, so that's not always a good sign. And some of the older ones will discolor naturally anyway.
But it is glossier.
It's a lot more common, yeah.
It is glossier.
Like this guy over here.
This is a K-On! Faceplate. We got this in a lot of items that I knew had some bootlegs in it, but it also had some authentic items that were rare. So I went ahead and bought the lot and went through piece by piece to determine what was a bootleg. And this one, the face sculpt just doesn't look as good. The painting is a little off, and then we've got a shiny neck joint, and it does have the smile on it, but you can just tell this is not the quality of the other K-On! Nendoroid faceplates.
Yeah, most of the neck joints will be, you know, you get the feel for the plastic is definitely a different material on a lot of the bootlegs. Now, another thing you can kind of look at with the body here, if we can get a good shot of it.
Well, I was gonna say the pants, except that I think we have the right and left leg reversed. I think this leg and this leg are supposed to be the same. You can see though, the sculpt just isn't. Oh,
it's mainly the seam line I was gonna point out.
Oh, okay,
kind of along the edge of the pant leg on the bootleg here, you can tell is got a lot more flashing.
It's kind of like comparing a prize figure versus a scale figure.
Yeah,
Nendoroids,
just not as good of mold lines.
They should not have as obvious a seam lines as that.
Yep, indeed.
All right, so moving on to our next victim here. This is a bootleg Eren Jaeger from Attack on Titan. I don't currently have a legit one in stock, but this is pretty obvious for a number of reasons, and I have authentic pieces here, so we'll show you the difference, and just from these pieces you can really tell.
Yep, so we got our bootleg here and authentic stuff up here.
So first off, his face plates, they don't look hand painted. They look like stickers. They the coloring doesn't have that nice gradient, subtle coloring that we would expect. And if you rotate the face plate, you can see quite a bit of reflection from it. And that is usually not typical of a Nendoroid, because that's more of a application of a sticker versus the hand painting that they do with Nendoroid eyes. Those little tiny dots on Nendoroid eyeballs, those little white dots to represent the refraction of light or reflection of light, those are hand painted on a legit figure. This is clearly not.
Yeah, and also Eren's number 365, I believe, right? So he would be using the newer style faceplate pig.
Yes.
And this one uses an old one, obviously.
And you can see the face again, the open shouting mouth just doesn't look right. The other thing, so the pants, anyone who's watched Attack on Titan or seen anyone cosplay it, these are supposed to be brown and they are maroon.
Oh yeah.
The sculpt is really atrocious. This is a particularly bad Nendoroid in terms of the sculpt on everything. But you can see that more as we proceed to the uniform. So this is the bootleg. I don't have an Eren one, but you can see it from comparing it to Mikasa. The level of detail and intricacy just isn't there with the bootleg. And again, you get this kind of reflective sticker look from the insignia of the core that he belongs to.
Yeah, more glossy decaling. Because that's the thing with the print process that Good Smile uses. They have machines that kind of do the stamping in kind of a 4-color print process type of thing when they do the face plates and when they do the bodies and, you know, large areas like that. They'll hand paint a lot of it, but, you know, certain things like these decal looking things, they do those with a machine, so they come out looking a lot different, whereas the bootlegs always use almost like a water slide transfer type of thing, and they always end up looking not nearly as good.
So another difference in sculpt here is the bootleg versus the authentic. So the authentic, this
That'll be the one on the right here.
Is this is smooth when I run my finger down it. This has a more obvious seam line.
Yeah, the paint on the left one's just a little bit thicker. It fills in
chunkier.
those grooves more. Like it was painted with melted crayon.
Right, and if I run my finger down it, it's not smooth. Another obvious telltale, if you didn't have the actual Nendoroid but just the accessories, smoke effects typically should look smoky.
Yeah, they're frosted.
This is a clear, translucent piece. This does not look like the smoke effect.
Yeah, it comes with any of them.
Yeah. The blood effect is also off. This
Very
just
muddy looking.
Yeah. And one of the most
clean.
obvious things is on the actual weapon apparatus. Here, I had the other one on the right. So the Authentic's on the right, Bootleg on the left.
Yeah, just a lot cleaner.
You can see
better defined details.
So see here, it's almost like the mold got damaged, and so there's like this weird imprint.
Yeah, misshapen parts.
You can see there's less different colors on this. It's like they decided these pieces would be silver, where all one color, so they didn't have to do as many different colors, whereas here you have these parts as a darker gray. So you've got kind of like 3 different colors on this one versus this one where...
2 and they're very muddily applied.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It sort of looks like they were painted with crayon. So that's some examples. The hands are shinier. I can see that as well. Even the stand arm is of lesser quality. There are like sprue chunkies left on pieces. It like
Bootlegs have a lot more flashing left on them from the molding.
Right. And
They
these
don't clean things up.
and the screws are smaller. I've never seen a legit Nendoroid stand with tiny screws like that. These are the type of screws that are used on the authentic product. They're big. They have either a washer behind them or that's built into the screw base. It's hard to tell. On the back, they're pretty much the same, but you can just tell with...
Screw heads are larger on the authentic stuff.
Yeah, so that is some things you'll see with the Attack on Titan Nendoroids, and they are getting a re-release for Mikasa, Eren, and Armin, and a re-release of Levi's already out, so there will be plenty of authentic products, so don't feel like you don't have a choice.
And what's the other one? Hans.
Have they announced one?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, I had not heard that. Okay, so now we're moving on to Overwatch. So, can you tell which one's the bootleg here? We do not have the neck joint issue to go off of.
Actually, we do.
We do? Oh, you just don't have the neck joints in there. Well,
Yeah.
that makes it too
which
easy.
brings up a good point, because a lot of times when we're looking at these from photos, we'll look at them in the package straight on like this, and they look the same as the authentic ones, because you don't get to see the bottom of those things, and that's how we end up with these sometimes. If we're not careful and letting people know, hey, can I get another shot of those face plates just to verify the bottom of them, we oftentimes won't notice that that happens, so we're extra careful about that now.
All right, so couple things. This, again, glossier hair on the bootleg.
Yeah, and lack of definition too on the mold. Just doesn't have quite as well defined contours to it.
Sloppy paint job. That's not chipping from someone playing with it. That's just a sloppy paint job. The other thing I notice is I really think the translucent plastic costs more.
Yeah,
so
a lot foggier on the bootleg.
Right, so again, the bootleg company went with a lesser quality plastic so you don't get that nice clear view through the goggles. Honestly, the face plates, not taking into account the lack of the right kind of neck joint, their eyes don't look that bad.
These ones are a little more decent than some of the older bootlegs. Some of the older bootlegs are just so obvious, and that's what's making it tough now, is that they are actually getting better at making bootlegs, so it's a little bit harder to pick them out when they have, you know, faceplates that look fairly comparable art-wise.
But here we've got legit versus bootleg. So one thing you'll notice, the bootleg, the peg for the hand is a different color.
All brown.
Yeah, because I think they molded it in brown. Whereas the Good Smile company, it was molded in a white and then painted. And you can just tell, not quite as neatly sculpted. Same with this piece, I forget what it's called, the little like mine thing. The guns are sloppier in painting job. And then
bootleg over. So just a little more glossy in general. But comparatively it is hard to tell. Just a little bit of lack of definition.
But this is one thing that I kind of could tell. So this bootleg, they took the time to create these, I forget what they're called. The things that keep the hole open.
Gap fillers, joint
plug
fillers.
Filler, yeah. So when you get the legit, it'll come with this in there to keep that hole nice and open for future use.
Yeah, it just prevents the socket from shrinking and...
Oh, it's a shrink-resistant peg, I think is what the official term is for it. So this one, they went as far as to give you a shrink-resistant peg, but I don't think it worked real well because I can't get it in there at all. So, and speaking of stands and pegs and such, the stand is super glossy, cheap plastic. There's no copyright info on it. Whereas the authentic is frosted and has copyright with Blizzard. Blizzard's got to get their name on there, of course.
That's right.
And the stand arms are very different.
Yeah, I think the stand arm is pretty much the same.
No, there's no,
oh, they've got the ball joints.
They've got no screws.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, there are authentic Nendoroids, of course, that do have crystal clear stands, but the plastic is just much better grade, much thicker and heavier duty.
And there have been recently more Nendoroids that don't have copyright info on the stand. Some legit ones, even a couple Disney ones, which blew me away. I think it's the Twisted Wonderland ones, I can't remember. But there was one that I was like flipping all over and was like, can we look at another one? Did they forget to stamp this with the copyright info? But so it does happen. But there's so many signs and hints at this one being a bootleg that you should definitely run the other direction. They didn't even fold the instruction booklet right. This is actually how it came with this, because there's no other fold lines. They folded it like that.
Yeah, it was like printed oddly and then they just folded it weird, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
More side-by-side comparisons. So this is a bootleg Genos. Okay, this is all bootleg right here. I only have in stock one legit, so let's compare these two.
Yep, so again you can see kind of that ultra glossy kind of appearance to the face, and these ones are a lot more matte finish.
Also,
wrong peg type.
the sculpt here has like a little like, I don't know, spruey piece you can catch your finger on. So there's like a little bit of a shadow there from something that shouldn't be. Wrong peg style. This is just weird color as it drapes around his chin. It's like they were like, we'll paint the part that you can see. We're not gonna paint this part under the chin. Lazy.
Now, is this one even molded as well as much? I guess it is, but
it is, but just like badly. when you use a mold over and over again, it doesn't tend to be as detailed. Because like here,
worn out. And then you can also see along the bottom, there's more seam line along the edge of the faceplate here, going from the ear to the hole. That is not present on the official ones. They're much more smooth and finished looking.
And this is a flash one. You can see he is particularly bad in that you can tell very shiny eyeballs. Yep. Like those are just reflecting everything.
And again, a late series Nendoroid with a pre-300 peg hole. And this is one that I accidentally bought from somebody in a lot that I did not notice because of the angle of the photos. So I did not catch the neck joint issue.
All right, the next item I want to show, it is actually not Good Smile Nendoroid. It is Capoche from the Capoche Friends line, the Alice. So this all came together. So we are running under the assumption all of this is bootleg. Now the clothing is actually really good. So that is extremely hard to tell, but look at the shoes. Okay, they are stamped inside left and right. And they have some of the worst seam lines ever.
Oh yeah, right down the top of the middle of the shoe.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
When you touch them, they feel like that cheap hard plastic used in like Dollar Tree Barbie shoes. They have no flexibility, no matte finish. They do have the magnets. One of them has popped out of one of them. But you can just see, they just don't look good. I can see the seam line from like 2 feet away. Okay, so here we have that same doll's bow. And this is from a legit one. It's a different color because they came out with a bunch of different Alices. But as you'll see, there's the seam line here, seam line here. You can't see or feel or appreciate those in any way on this. And then look at this like lumpy, bumpy sculpt.
Yeah, poor molding. Yeah, it's very subtle, but when we handle this stuff day in and day out, we start to become aware of these slight variances that just feel off, which prompts us to take a closer look and identify these finer points. So, moving back to boxes, since we're right here for a second, one thing we had mentioned was that a lot of people use stickers as an indicator of authenticity, and that works for some manufacturers who utilize the stickers, but it shouldn't be a go-to rule for everything because a lot of them don't. But can you tell the difference here as to which is authentic and which is not? Should be pretty obvious if you look close enough. Would be the product line, the series name, and the manufacturer, Orange Rouge, are missing entirely from this guy.
And that's common, but there are bootlegs that will
have everything on them. But if you see one that is completely blank like that,
and here you'll see a difference in quality with the window. Oh, I'm sorry, I flipped it.
Same artwork.
So they didn't print. It's not that they did a bad job of gluing it. I believe that they did a bad job of printing the name.
Yeah, and the fake is just in general darker, and it's off-centered on this one.
Yeah, that's what I was showing.
Yeah. Indeed. And then back of the box looks pretty much the same on the back.
We've got
Except we don't have the site information there.
No support offered on this one.
Nope. No support. None for you. And again, no manufacturing logo like this one has here. Or the series.
And the photography is just blurrier.
Which you can really tell on the front part even more so.
It's a reproduction of a legit photo, whereas it's so crisp and clean on
Here's
the authentic
one. Here's the authentic one. You can just tell that it is considerably sharper than the bootleg. So there you have it.
All right, so we said that some bootlegs will still have Good Smile Company's name on them. The Your Name Nendoroids are an example of this.
Or some of them might say God Smile.
Yes, we've seen the God Smile. That one was precious.
Yes, they do anything to try and avoid being obvious. But it's just funny how some of them decide to, make the effort to pretend, and other ones are just like, yeah, just put Good Smile on there. It doesn't matter.
So I didn't even open these. I just realized.
You just took one look at it and went, nope.
That's exactly what I did. It was a facepalm moment. So
what were the red flags on this one? Because I was curious. I was looking at these ones as I pulled them out and went, yeah, these are odd, but what is the main thing about them?
Total derp face. I mean, just look at it. So the picture on the box is what the authentic looks like. His face, it's like his eyeballs are melting backwards, like his nose
sliding off the faceplate.
Yeah, his nose is more prominent, and he's super shiny.
Yeah.
And
then I think these probably have the. It's hard to tell, but oh yeah, they do have the old style neck joints.
Yes, I think I went like this and but again, they actually do have the support info for Good Smile. I'm sure Good Smile would be real happy if you reach out to them about the quality of these products.
That's right.
So
that was total crap from you.
Yeah.
Where'd you buy it? Wish. Don't buy anything on Wish.
Yeah. Yeah, don't do that. So as you can see, these are really, really tough ones. But
a keen trained eye.
Well, but if you see them out of the box, like if you really look at it, that face is way off.
Yeah.
Even through the plastic. So you just have to take the time to look.
This one's funny because they didn't even try.
This one is one of the most unique bootlegs we have in the collection in that there is no CC Nendoroid. This is a Chibi Arts figure. And for whatever reason, oh, my hand's shaking. The bootleg manufacturer said, let's make it a Nendoroid.
Yep,
and I think
slap a random number 302 on it.
Yeah, I think honestly that it's because the name Nendoroid is well known. People don't know what Chibi Arts is, so they thought, okay, we're stealing CC and plans anyways. Let's just go full bore and make it a Nendoroid. Everyone wanted code Geass Nendoroids. So there you have it. So, and they did the whole Nendoroid background like all the Nendoroids from that era had.
Yep.
They went next level.
A lot of effort, for sure. A for effort.
Yep. This is a bootleg fake Nendoroid. Again, a box that has a Good Smile Company on it. They went so far as to glossy
foil printing.
But again, a crushed box. And I have actually wondered on this one.
Yeah, here's one telltale also is that the flaps on the inside of bootlegs typically are a lot smaller in a lot of cases, so that can often be a red flag, whereas most of the Nendoroid ones will extend considerably further.
So yeah, this is one where it's very hard until you open it up, because they did go the extra mile with several things. But when you look at it, you're like, oh. So the flesh tone is very pink.
And you can't use the neck joint key on this one since it's number 121. And
honestly, these super movables fall apart. The legit ones fall apart because it was a weird design. So
Case in point.
But this is, as it falls apart in your hand, you'll feel it's not smooth. Again, muddy paint job, lumps of crayon kind of look, muddy sculpt. Look at the painting on her face. It's kind of like there's a buildup of pink paint. The hair does have gradation to the color, but again, it just...
A little muddy paint job there on the bow and hairline.
And the facial expressions are reflective. This is another thing. So I have had a lot of stuff over the years that has not been well taken care of, that came from, you know, junk lots, and that just...
Things flake off a lot easier.
Yeah, they're just not as durable. So your bootleg is not going to last as long as your authentic figure for sure. So that's one that I got, and this we got in a huge lot of authentic figures. This was the only bootleg in the lot. That collector did not know this was a bootleg.
Yeah. And to be fair, that is definitely a hard one to judge.
It is a tough one.
Especially when they get older, a lot of the Nendoroids, especially if they're kept in box, will tend to get kind of glossy and sticky, and will start to have that kind of real fake look to them, but they'll be authentic. So, lots of curveballs. This one was also kind of a hard one to figure out initially, until you realize that this one, isn't this the one that comes with the ice tray? Or a different one?
No, this does come with something else. So it should have
the box should be extra thick and come with the included Miku ice tray with it, but this one did not.
But I looked at her and I was like, oh, what? I thought she had faded weird. Mm-hmm. But it's not that she's faded, it's that she was painted weird to begin with. So, oh, she's never been untaped.
Huh.
Okay, so this is the bootleg, and again we have a little bit of a derpy looking face. The other thing I would say is often snow Mikus have a pale skin tone, reflective of snow, etc.
This one's very yellow.
Yeah, so this is an authentic one out of the box of the same Miku.
I'm a little closer.
There
we go.
Her hair prevents us from getting too close.
Right.
So there...
So you got, again, some more of the translucency problem, whereas on the authentic, kind of the ends of the twin tails kind of have a little bit of a less opaque look to them.
Here.
These ones are obviously painted a lot darker.
So what I noticed that really went, oh, that's kind of ugly Miku hair, is it's more like this weird white and blue.
Yeah.
Less of a gradation. And here you'll see the neck joints. They look like they just used flesh-colored neck joints. Maybe they painted them and the paint has worn off over the years. And you can also see on the paint job on the outfit, if I turn these over, it's not this, I don't know what you'd call this blue, but it's definitely not the same as this blue. This blue has
definitely messier paint lines, but the color's hard to tell, at least through the camera.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's more vibrant instead of a subtle color like we usually see from our...
That's the one thing. For being something that is hand-painted, authentic Nendoroids do tend to have a pretty consistent quality and feel to them, so that when you pick up something that has some kind of distinctly different overall feel to the quality of plastic, the quality of the paint job, it becomes pretty obvious.
This should not be shiny. And it should not have some of the most glaring...
Oh, wow, that's like the worst seam lines I've seen on most things.
Yeah, this is awful. This is perhaps worse than the Nendoroid in some ways. They were just like, they didn't even try on this.
No.
So, that, the paint job on the scarf and the mittens isn't that bad. Paint job on the headphones is really bad. The sculpt is bad. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're malformed. they would probably not stay on very well.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see, does this stand? And they went so far as to put copyright, Krypton future, copyright info on there.
Wow.
But no dates. All a little sus. Okay.
As the kids are saying.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Loki. This is one I bought. Again, top view photo. Knew there was no box. Didn't know this.
We should keep a contest going. As far as which one of us has the most or the least bootlegs slipped by us. Because April will buy all the stuff from auction lots and big things like that online, import from Japan, and I take care of putting out all the offers for people's collections and that kind of thing. So we get quite a bit of loose and used stuff from our various channels.
I think I would... Which way does a handicap work? I think that I have a higher...
Depends on if we're going for more bootlegs or less bootlegs, but I would assume less.
Well, I have more chance of picking up bootlegs because I have less photos, less to go off of. But I think we're probably about equal.
Yeah.
So Loki.
But considering how many tens of thousands of Nendoroids we bought over the last 3 years, I'd say we're doing pretty good considering this table pretty much represents probably 90% of what we have. That's bootleg.
Yeah, because we can't sell it.
Yep.
I don't like sending plastic to the dump, and if there's any chance that we can change someone's life by preventing them purchasing a bootleg, we do it.
Into the closet of shame they go. Oddly, it's also her cosplay closet.
Totally unrelated.
But we won't go there.
So this is bootleg Nendoroid Loki. I don't remember which Loki version. There's a new Loki coming out based on the TV show. It's very cool. We couldn't get it from the distributor. I'm pissed.
Yes. But Japan exclusives, and we never know. We just see the releases and go, oh, that'll be so cool, and then they never show up on our lists and nobody says anything. And then one day we go, we haven't heard about this, and I email them and they go, oh, we won't be distributing that one. It's a Japan exclusive. And I'm like, damn. But we keep scouring the secondary market, and eventually we find a few, but it is unfortunate.
So, Loki...
More bootlegism.
Loki's falling apart
Shedding
here.
limbs, and he's not a superposable.
Okay, so from a distance, well, they kind of dropped the superposable name.
Limb, yeah.
Because the superposables, I think, got so many jokes about being super fall aparties.
Yeah.
So from a distance, he's really not too bad. He's shinier. He's got the wrong kind of neck joints. Mm-hmm. But you can see the sculpt on the hair leaves... Oh my god, your arms, dude. Control your hands. There, we'll just knock them off. The seam line is bad here. Like, I can't...
Mm-hmm. The body looks like McDonald's toy plastic quality in the molding of the jacket and stuff.
Yeah, the paint job isn't that bad. We've had them side by side.
Yeah, this one was definitely very difficult to determine, just because overall, his hair is actually the legit one. The hair is a little bit shiny, which oftentimes can be kind of a red flag, but in this case, it was just the bad seam lines.
So the challenge with this one is we've gotten splits of him, and every time we've had a split of him, when in doubt, we pull out the bootleg to compare to make sure that we didn't get split bootleg parts, because it can be a little bit challenging when you're not looking at the faceplate. And yes, the legitimate hair is very shiny, but it's a much better sculpt than this. The suit really isn't bad.
And this was from the DX expansion kit.
Yes.
Which I think was kind of a cool concept that they didn't do enough of with other stuff outside the Marvel, which is instead of releasing a whole nother Nendoroid as a DX, you release the DX parts as a separate pack. I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's just got a lot of accessories, and the more you look, the more you're like...
Yeah, the Loki crown in particular, I know, has a lot more seam lines on it that are kind of suspect.
Yeah. Yes, and for Loki fans, I'm sure you also know there's a Loki Loungefly backpack bootleg. I've watched videos comparing those. I'm the proud owner of 2 Loungeflies and one from another company, one similar thing. I love them. Okay, and then this one, this is I bought one. So this goes on my list. This I don't think had a picture of the actual box. Oh my gosh, it's dusty. Remind me to dust before we pull things out of the closet of shame next time. So no Good Smile logo. Oh, I remember the deal with this one. The seller showed authentic photos.
Oh.
Yeah.
Real jewel of the selling community.
Yes, yes. So the photos they showed me were not the actual product I got. I got my money back. So have not opened her up. She's still taped shut. Whoa, they used a lot. So to prevent their bootleg from falling apart in shipping, they...
It prevents you from quickly assessing.
Holy crap, man. They went around this like with packing.
Right off the bat. 480. Old school neck joint.
Well, and her face is derpy. It's got that weird misshapenness.
Yep.
And I bet if we could get her out of the packaging, we would see that.
No need. She can stay in her little plastic prison of shame.
No! It's not my fault. Love me anyways. Okay.
Yes. A lot of people like to make the argument that, oh, well, I'm just converting it. I'm just converting pieces. I can just use bootleg parts for it. And not a good mentality in our opinion.
Yeah, I would much rather that the money from characters I love go to the creators. And
it does trickle down to the people who create the stuff. Even though it has to go through us and through the distributor and through Good Smile's manufacturers and Good Smile and the anime production company that produces it. Eventually you are supporting the manga artists and the anime artists as well.
Fight for more money for anime producers, please. Right. Bootleg Ultimate Maduka. Okay.
This one I hate on an authentic good day.
This is Travis's least favorite Nendoroid of all time because she stinks like plastic.
Oh, it's like the worst chemical plastic. If this one has been one that was like left in box since it was produced, it gets that terrible plastic venting problem, and the particular types of plastic that this one uses, it's just an awful toxic smell that will never go away.
So I end up doing the Ultimate Madukas because he can't take it.
As long as they have been opened, they're okay, but a couple of them I've gotten have been really bad.
So her, we didn't catch it from the box. It was we opened her and we were like, oh.
What number is she?
She is 285.
Yeah, so this one you have to look at all the other their red flag elements.
So the first thing I noticed upon opening the box,
discoloration of leg joints considerably. Major yellowing.
Well, and also just not as nice a paint job as on the Authentics.
Yep. A lot muddier details.
She doesn't look as cute, honestly.
Plastic is weird on the top.
These bow pieces have way more prominent seam lines and look of cheaper plastic. They look more like a cheap kid's toy.
Yep.
This should be a better quality, like translucent plastic. Again,
oh, yeah.
They're using opaque plastics to save money.
Which is funny because, well, I guess, yeah, those are still translucent, the wings. But you can see some major flashing at the ball joint.
Yeah. So.
And again, more discoloration of the hair joints a little bit, but the leg joints being the big ones.
Yeah, and the paint job, like the back side of it, it looks like they kind of painted from the front only. So on the back side of these, it doesn't look that pink.
Yeah.
It shouldn't look like, it doesn't have to look the exact same, but it just doesn't look as good. It just wasn't a very thorough paint job. Shiny, discolored neck joints. But again, in a box that says Good Smile, comes with the effect pieces the same. Stand arm is not of the high quality of plastic. It feels
flimsier.
Yeah. But a difficult one for sure. Oh, more telltale flashing inside the hair.
Yep. Anytime they have those weird big bubble flashings in the middle there, that's a pretty solid indicator. I don't think I've seen really any authentic ones that end up with that.
So
I think just the molds are quite different.
Yeah, and just the gradation here, instead of kind of a pretty gradient, it looks dark, and then it's like we'll do these light splosh.
Just blend it real fast.
Yeah, so there's that. So side by side here, we have a sticker. Always a good sign. However, have people been known to stick bootlegs inside authentic boxes? There's a special kind of hell for those people, but they do exist.
Exactly.
So, difference in quality of photo.
Yep,
This
a lot darker print on the fake one.
Darker, maybe not pixelated, but just not as clear.
Less defined.
Okay.
Lower resolution.
Okay, let's see if I can open it without. Similar box weight, still a little bit flimsier on the bootleg. Because look, it's more like a cardstock versus cardboard.
This one actually has pretty matching inner flaps.
Yes, except I will say, again, not as clear a print, because I think what they did was scanned an authentic box. I think that's exactly what they did on this one. They waited for the box to be produced and
replicated it.
Yep. Okay. All right, we'll set the boxes aside. Okay. Bootleg. Authentic. All right, I see several problems right off the bat.
Yes. A lot cruddier definition on the face. Definite off color.
They put a lot of their effort in this bootleg, I think, on making the box look very authentic, and they didn't work nearly as hard on the figure.
Yeah, and you can tell pretty extensively here. Oh, that's a massive paint job issue because the plastic actually had mold lines to guide the painter to do the design, and these ones were just obviously stamped on willy-nilly. Whereas here you got a lot better defined.
And her skirt actually looks like it's been run over because it's actually more smushed. Look at it from this angle. So the authentic, her skirt is flared out, like she could be in an action pose or running or just looking hella cute. And the other one is flatter, messy paint job.
The hairs are less defined, a lot more definition on the authentic on the left.
Yes, and I apologize that I don't have the same face plates in on them right now. My hand is shaking awful.
Here's the fake face compared to the authentic one.
So here's the fighting face.
Yeah, a lot of mess up on the paint job on the mouth.
I'm gonna move it like this so maybe you can catch. Notice how the authentic is not reflecting the light.
Yeah, very matte.
But the other one is shiny, shiny, shiny. Okay.
Indeed.
So now this is a bootleg that uses the new style of neck joints, so you can't go by the neck joints on it. But you definitely can go by the derpy face.
It's a lot like investigating check forgery. You have to understand all the little nuances, and the rules are never always the same.
I don't think the FBI wants me. So, and this is the back of the hair. We didn't show the back.
Yeah, really cruddy mold definition kind of on the base of the hair there.
Well, it's funny. The hair just looks physically smaller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does.
And
the color, too, the red on the dress is a lot more vibrant on that than it is on here.
Yeah.
And what about the hat?
The hat, again, looks smaller. It's a little bit different shape.
Major mold line right up the center there.
Yes.
You don't see that at all on the authentic.
The buttons aren't that bad, but the color is just off on her dress, on everything. It's more
yellow, more sunshine yellow, less goldenrod.
Well, and it's also more orange than red on the red parts. But here you can see significant difference in paint job.
Oh yeah, for sure. Honestly, this looks like a really rough custom job.
Yeah, like my customs.
Well, I didn't say it.
Yeah, it's okay. I can be self-deprecating. It's okay. So here you'll see, again, the yellow. You can kind of see the brush strokes.
Mm-hmm. See the inside. What's the inside of the hat look like? Yeah, pretty comparable.
But I'm really curious. So they are different.
Quite a bit different inside.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's funny too because this is sculpted for the real hat, and so it has more wiggle room.
Oh,
Look at that. This hat, this is custom made to fit in it. This, it's like, okay. Very similar things on these, except you can't appreciate this because you can't touch it, but this feels lighter weight. The bootleg just feels lighter weight.
The bootleg on the bottom?
Yep.
This one here?
Yep, it's all scratchy.
Yeah.
And there's the seam line.
See, I look away for 1 minute, she switches. I can still tell which one's the bootleg. But I'm sure looking at it from your side, you can probably tell as well. Because it's kind of a muddy, seamed mess.
Yeah, there's a seam, there's more scratching up, and you have to understand, as far as I know, neither one of these have been really displayed.
Yeah, bad paint lines along the edges of the cloak. Here's the authentic one, a lot cleaner.
How does this lay in there like that? Okay.
Alright, let's check out the staff.
Alright, so her staff comes with two different sphere pieces. For her explosion magic. So, in my right hand is the authentic, in my left hand is the bootleg.
A lot shinier, more vibrant.
So, what I can see that may be less obvious through the camera is a difference in the color of the wood. The authentic is more of a an orangish, lighter color wood. The wrapped part where she can hold things on the bootleg, it's
a lot smoother.
It's a lot smoother. You can barely see any sculpt there. This one, you can see the markings, ever so subtle markings, to give it that wrapped look, which you just don't get with the bootleg.
Yep.
The other thing is, while they're both going to have seam lines for the spheres on the authentic have a clear peg. They're colored, but the peg is clear, so it gives the illusion of the sphere being suspended by magic. The bootleg, they just molded it out of colored plastic, so the peg is also colored, so you don't get the benefit of that effect. And, of course, just
poor seam lines and molding.
Yeah, this has an obvious seam line here, but the molding just isn't as good. Not as badly painted as some of the rest of the pieces.
But, yep.
And then when we look at the stands, we have a difference in stand that is also apparent. So here, I'm trying to make sure that I'm comparing apples to apples here, because she does have a stand for the effect piece, but I'm not seeing it in the bootleg box. But, so I'm trying to see what they... Yeah, they didn't change the picture, but you'll see, again, this does not have screws, and it doesn't have a peg, but in their instruction manual that comes with it, it of course does, because they just photocopied Good Smiles.
All right.
This is the authentic stand, which is frosted, has screws, has a separate peg piece. So a lot of people will leave the pegs in their Nendoroids so they don't have to keep shoving them in and out. You wouldn't have the option with this.
Oh, yeah.
And then on this one, they didn't put any copyright info at all. On the authentic, she has her copyright info. So a number of different things you can tell. The other thing, the effect pieces. So when you get effect pieces with Nendoroids, they're gonna have this protective layer on them. I just haven't pulled it off on the bootleg. However, I can tell the difference. Even with that additional layer on this one.
It's a lot more flimsy. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is like super hard card. This is almost like window plastic.
Yeah, this is just a little bit heavier window plastic. This is very
rigid plastic.
Whereas, also, there isn't, the paint is, it's just not as,
it doesn't have as dark of highlighting as the authentic one.
Also, I don't think it's cut as well. Could be my imagination though. Oh, I guess it is my imagination. They do lay pretty perfectly. I thought they had off-centered this a little bit, but it looks like it's about the same.
Well, there you have it. That is our mess of destruction. Us dealing with bootlegs so that you don't have to. We hope this has been informative and educational and will help you to identify bootlegs in your shopping adventures on the internets.
And if you would like more side-by-side comparisons of bootlegs to the authentic Nendoroids, please let us know in the comments, and we can endeavor to make the videos on the ones that you are particularly interested in or most worried about getting a bootleg of, some of the more challenging ones. Just like with fine paintings, you get a feeling for identifying the bootlegs after a while. And we handle Nendoroids hours upon hours every day. And so we've gotten pretty good at it. But as you can see, we still get burned. It happens to everybody. And that's one of the reasons why we recommend buying from stores you know and trust, and individuals and collectors you know and trust. And when you purchase a Nendoroid, making sure you have buyer protection. If you're buying from somebody you don't know, don't let them talk you into using friends and family and things like that. Make sure that you aren't going to lose your money by not being protected, because figure prices are going up, and it's a lot of money to allocate to something that isn't going to have any value.
Yep, that is for sure. So if you want authentic parts, you can check us out. We refuse to sell bootlegs. Come and see us at chibicchopshop.com.
And we also sell whole figures, and we have a few other items, not just Nendoroids and Capoche, so always check out our anime merch section, because we have other items there too that we have.
Alright, we'll catch you next time.
Thanks!